So, welcome back, everyone.
It
This
has
has been Talking Through the Haze.
a minute.
And we have a great, I think, just little discussion between Neil and I, and Dakota even weighs in at several points.
Yes.
And we just kind of got back in the saddle from taking a long break because we've all got families and we've got jobs and we've all been making some good steps in our lives.
Yes.
And so we're back now, though. So
Yep.
we recorded this episode today, and we talk about a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And it gets heavy a lot of times.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But I don't think none of it's invalid. It's all good stuff to talk about, and it's stuff that people need to have discussions about. And I think I feel like for me, that's what Talking Through the Haze is kind of become, is about encouraging people to have discussions.
Yeah.
Because it's something that gets lost a lot whenever you sit around just staring at a phone all day and you let your discussion be online. It's a different kind of beast. It's not the same thing, and you don't understand people, I think, the way we get to understand each other.
Yeah.
When we sit down and have these talks.
Absolutely.
Like I feel like there's a connection that's lost there.
Absolutely.
So come join us for those conversations.
And join us on this magic carpet ride.
This magic carpet ride.
Yeah, look for us on Patreon in the future.
Yeah, we're gonna do something with Patreon in the future. We need to figure that out. We need to get back to the drawing board and kind of talk it over.
This episode will be the first episode to be the full episode officially on YouTube.
Yep. We'll get that out there as well. We'll try and get back to doing a little bit of the more communicating with people out there that want to communicate with us.
Yes. We kind of dipped out for a minute, and now we're back, and we're going to try to get, at least one episode a month out. Hopefully we'll get that number up, over a little bit of time. But
yeah, for sure. And, to everyone who sticks around and comes back and starts listening again, to anyone who finds out about us and gives us the time of day. Thank you to everyone.
Yes.
This is a lot of fun to do. It's a fun little side project right now, but we enjoy doing it so much. I would love to do it more.
For sure.
For sure. So come with us, guys.
Yep.
Have fun. This is Talking Through the Haze.
Welcome. Welcome back, everyone. It's been quite a while. We've taken some time off. Some things have happened, transitions and crew members and whatnot.
What was the last episode?
The last episode was with Chris Bates.
It was.
Yes, and I'm going to say that was like 3 months ago. 2 months ago? 3 months ago?
The best of the episodes. The best of the episodes, I think.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome episode. So since then, Elijah has packed up and moved his happy ass down to Nashville, Tennessee.
Yep.
And he is working at a bar down there and pursuing a production-y musical career in Nashville. And
we wish him well.
Yes. I'm sure there will be episodes in the future where, we might go down there and record with him down there or something like that, or when he's home, or he's not completely gone, but that's where he's at for now.
He's a young man, and he's got to make young man moves.
Yeah, no kids, no wife, no family. Got to do it, man. I think it's
an important part of the whole becoming an adult experience is experiencing a little bit of that, stepping out there and doing something.
Yeah, stepping out of your comfort zone. Yeah. Getting away from home.
Yeah.
And, not that he hadn't done that before. He lived in Louisville for a while and shit like that, but still, that's
your family are all kind of nomad-y.
We are. We're real nomad-y. But yeah. So now we have brought Dakota in. I know he's been on, I think, probably the last 2 of our episodes now. Yeah. So everyone who's been listening is familiar with him, but he is now pretty much
He's going to be doing our sound, and he's got us doing video.
So hello.
Which anyone who decides to watch this on, I think we're going to put it on YouTube. Maybe, can we put something like that on Facebook? We could put a link on Facebook.
Yeah, we could definitely. We'll have a link on our Facebook. I'll post a link on our Instagram, I guess.
And maybe we can start doing more video stuff.
Yeah.
Especially, I know we've talked about doing, some kind of Patreon stuff in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would maybe be, a good way to go with that, some of the video stuff as well.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely get that information out there to you, but you can go to YouTube and watch this whole thing if you decide you want to do that, and look at me and Josh's big, burly, sexy selves for an hour or two. But yeah, so now we're back and got a new sound guy. We got a whole new setup. We're in a new facility and everything. I mean, we're in
It's quite classy.
the study, as we call it, the country study.
The country study.
The country study.
The manor house study.
Yes. And we have Dakota to thank for all this fancy lighting and sound equipment, and
we'll get you mic'd here before too long. I like having our
yeah
person mic'd. I think it's
so
good to hear from them.
weigh in on things.
Yeah.
So,
so we're back now. We haven't really put a lot of thought into what we're going to talk about. We just kind of figured we let things go their own way.
Yeah.
And so, how do we let them go their own way, Neil?
What's the segue? All right. Well, what's like a popular story that you've heard recently in the news?
I don't even necessarily want to talk about the popular stories I've heard.
Or what's a story that you heard of, or that you want to, something that sticks in your brain? What's going on with you?
Shit, I don't know, man. I mean, I think a good thing to kind of focus on these days is where are we going with our politics? Like, in the sense of, like, we keep experiencing a lot of fairly blatant corruption.
Yeah.
And to what extent you think that qualifies as corruption, I mean, that can be argued.
Yeah.
But there's corruption, no doubt, and there has been corruption for a long time. It's not something we're really necessarily, like, just now experiencing. It's more than anything something that's just now being acknowledged.
Yeah.
And it's not even being acknowledged to some great degree, I don't even think, considering what that implies about our system.
It's more of like a dirty little secret, I feel. Like, everybody kind of knows, but nobody really wants to do or say anything about it.
Like an open secret.
Yeah. It's kind of just one of those things that people just want to brush under the rug. Like, it doesn't affect me directly. So
well, and I wonder too, like, a lot of people, even myself included, like, you wonder, okay, well, so what can I do about it? Like, where does that begin, and where, like, how does that, like, end? Where, like, if you're gonna start a social movement to change something, how do you do that effectively? Because if they just want to ignore you, and especially if they start using your police force as, like, a way to, like, keep people from, acting out, through civil unrest.
What is it called? Militarizing the police or something
Militarizing the police, having a much more, physical deterrent kind of method to sending home, groups of people that are going to call themselves protesters and whatnot, but are going to be called by the authorities. They're going to be called rioters and, stuff like that. And there's inevitably going to be elements amongst that group that are technically rioting, But when a populace feels like it's not being addressed and not being considered and not being represented, how else are they going to try and get your attention?
I mean, it's true. It's like
like, how long do they have to not be heard?
Well,
before
and the
they
problem
start saying,
also,
hey,
the problem also is that the American people are the only people that can stop what's happening. And the American people are the only people that are to blame for allowing it to get to the place where it's at. There's no one individual or one group of people or one anything. It's anyone who's an American citizen or who lives in this country and allows our government to get away with the things that they get away with. Yes, there are small groups of people that try to band together and try to protest and try to change things and try to do better. And that's all great and that's wonderful. And you motherfuckers keep fighting the good fight. But the problem is that until more people than not get on board with shit like this, nothing's ever going to change. Because that's the thing. So say, what is there, 350 million people roughly in America, in the U.S., something like that? Do you have the ability to do that? I think our population's about that. 320, 350, somewhere in that general area. Yeah. So anyway, out of that many people, how many of those people are actually, activists in some way, whether that's talking about shit like we do on this podcast, and so listeners can listen and they can open their brain and be like, huh, kind of thing. And it's like, how many people are actually doing something to try to change versus how many people are just sitting there saying, it doesn't affect me directly, or, that's a conspiracy theory, or, whatever, just kind of turning a blind eye.
Right.
You know, and the answer is more people turn a blind eye than don't. More people don't do anything.
Of, like the idea. I think America, for being a very young country, has a very saturated history of civil unrest.
Yeah.
Whenever you had the country forming, you had not only the Revolutionary War that formed it, but then you had all of the violence between Native Americans and whites moving westward initially. Then you had you had a civil war, and then you had another westward expansion. And then you've had a series of wars since then that we've been involved in. So there's a big thing there for we're a traumatized nation. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't disagree with that, but I think that, like I said, the biggest thing is like until enough people pull their heads out of their asses, I guess, and actually start. And see, that was one thing that I said, 2 years ago when this whole Trump thing started and started talking about it. And I was like, you know what? If nothing else, this election will open people's eyes to like the fucked up shit that's going on in the government and like the how things have just gone awry. It will open a whole other generation of people's eyes. It'll open a whole lot more people's eyes, and it'll get people more interested. And it has. I feel that it has. I feel that there's some more crazy people like the Antifa people and stuff like that. Like that stuff's just a little overdoing it, I think. But
it's and that's the whole thing. It's the duplicity you see between the two parties is those extreme ends. You've got Antifa going out there and picking fights when that's kind of what they claim they're fighting against.
Yeah,
it's
it's a double standard.
Right, and it's bogus. I don't think if you don't want the government using tactics like that, if you don't want police forces doing that, you can't do it yourself. Now, if you're defending yourself, that's an entirely different matter.
Yeah.
But those people aren't out there to defend themselves. They're out there to try and hurt people.
And cause mayhem and trouble and the whole, yeah.
Exacerbate the problem.
Exacerbate, that's a funny word.
Exacerbate? Well, yeah.
So,
but what's been on your mind, though, lately, Neil? It can be completely unrelated to that. What have you been thinking about?
What have I been thinking about lately? I don't know. I have been working on my music and stuff a lot lately. I've been thinking a lot about music and doing that kind of thing.
You did an open mic thing, right?
Yep, did an open mic thing.
Where was that at?
That was at Sweetgrass.
Sweetgrass where?
In Bloomington, Indiana.
Yeah.
And
so do they do that regularly?
Yeah, every Tuesday. And I'll probably go there every Tuesday. Yeah. At least for a while. And yeah, it's fun. So, I've been doing that. I've been getting more into music and exploring, more of the artistic side of it, or trying to. And it's horrible because it's such a thing that music is split down the middle right now. And it's split. It's to the point where you're either this sellout poppy bubblegum person who's very mainstream and shitty pretty much, or you're like the artist part of it, to where you take it very seriously and you do what you want to do. You do your type of music, your style, whatever is attractive to you. A lot of the other people that you see, I think, are more people who get molded by record labels and managers.
Well, I think that's something that America accepted a long time ago, was the idea of these people who are they're managed, they're manufactured. They even had that show, was it Making the Band?
Yeah.
Where
all the reality
how do
shows.
you make a band?
Yeah. And the American Idol type shit and all that stuff.
But then you also kind of had a moment there where it seemed like music had revolted against that.
Yeah.
But then,
that's when rock and roll hit, back in the 50s, late 50s, mid 50s. That's I feel when music kind of took a stand and shifted, and for the better.
I feel like
But
before that, music wasn't as big of an industry, though, and that was the first embodiment, I think, of like
I would say
a
you're
free
probably
musical
right.
culture. And then, more towards like the 70s and even 80s, you saw more of maybe more like the 70s. You saw, I mean, you still had you still had a lot of singer-songwriter people,
Yeah.
but you had a lot of manufactured stuff as well.
Yeah.
And then you saw with like
I would say
grunge.
80s is when that shit really, that manufactured like boy band glitter hair metal shit, like the real bad of the bad, you know. And then into the 90s, when grunge hit, everybody was like, what is this shit, And so I don't think that they had said something like that since years earlier, because it kind of, it developed over the 60s and the 70s into different sounds, but it wasn't like the rock and roll sound was like the first time people were like, oh shit. And then the grunge sound, when that came out,
Punk too.
Like, I mean, yeah, punk rock
was
music for
definitely a
sure.
thing.
That was
and
a
punk
big
is one
movement.
of those ones again where it's like there's what you consider to kind of be the mainstream and not the mainstream.
Yeah.
And not the mainstream is usually the one that I think most people who identify as liking punk music tend towards.
Yes.
But then you have like that very mainstream stuff as well that it's
fucking like Good Charlotte
record labels found a way to try and even make money off of that.
Yeah.
There's no genre I think that gets completely free of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a part of every genre, but I think it's just it's so shitty. It's so shitty, because it's so like just greedy and shit, and it's just it's one of those things where you're like, fuck, why you gotta take something good and turn it into something bad because you can make more money off of it, It's like,
but isn't that what everyone just wants to do in the end? Is make money off of it?
Make money off of it. True.
I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that would still play music, but to the level that they do.
I mean, I guess the goal, making a living playing music. Yes, and whether that's playing like shows or records or whatever it is that you're doing. But yeah, I mean, making a living playing music was definitely a goal, I mean, I'd love to be able to do that, but I mean, it's a goal for a lot of people.
Even if you were just like a backup guitar player for someone.
Like, how good of a living are we talking?
I don't know, like, what if you were going to make like 70 a year doing it?
Just playing guitar in a band?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I'd do it. Why not?
Well, you got to be on the road, like, fucking 5 months out of the year.
I mean, it would be more beneficial, and I would rather be the front man. That way.
Well, I think if you're the front man, you could expect to make more than 70,000.
Well, make more than 70,000, but also you kind of come and go as you please. Or I could take my family on the road with me if I wanted to. Have my own gypsy bus.
Yeah, it's a lot to put your family through, though.
Why?
I don't know. It just depends on your family, I guess, more than anything.
I mean, me and Annie talk constantly about packing up our kids and hitting an RV and just traveling the country.
That doesn't mean the kids would like growing up that way.
I mean, we're not talking about doing it forever. We're talking about doing it for like a year.
Just saying.
Or 2. You're waking up at a different national park every day.
They might love that.
I mean,
I'm not saying
awesome.
They wouldn't. I'm just saying you don't know until you do it.
Well, yeah. It's different from like 2 kids to like 5 kids. It's a little more not as feasible.
I'm not talking about doing it myself. I want to live in one place in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Kind of like Dakota does.
Yeah, that's
in this
fun.
Wonderful palatial estate with this fine old library.
Oh, shit, we got a gumball machine up there.
That's been around since I was a baby.
There you go.
Motherfucking gumballs.
That's right. The mason jar gumball machine.
Oh my gosh. All right.
So yeah, man.
So like, what about you, man? What's something else that you thinking about?
I don't know.
Something else new going on in your life? Josh, here we can talk about this. Joshua, right now, has had the first week alone, all to himself, for the first time in probably 2-ish years.
Yeah, something like that.
So that's a pretty big thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, like a staycation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A staycation.
No, it's nice, man. And it's one of those things where, like, I think you appreciate it more because you have, like a family and people around all the time.
Oh, for sure.
But, as nice as it is to have that, like, week I'm already at that place where I'm like, okay, someone needs to come home.
Yeah.
Because I'm bored.
Nah.
You know.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. You
So.
get to that point, yeah, but it's like you said, it's like a little mini vacation.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of get to just be alone, have time to yourself, which is extremely
But
important.
then I do horribly lazy stuff. Like I slept on the couch all night last night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I woke up there this morning like.
Oh, I haven't seen your new couch yet since you got your
It's a
new
really comfortable couch,
Is it?
granted, but it's still sleeping on a couch.
Yeah.
So then I had to go and lay in my bed for like an hour and a half and recover.
And recover. So you just went home and just watched some TV and passed out on the couch.
Pretty much, yeah.
I was on the couch till like 2:30 in the morning last night, snuggling with Jack.
Yeah.
He wanted to snuggle for a while, and he just passed out, and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to watch TV. I just watched TV till like 2:30 in the morning, then I fell asleep on the couch and woke back up and
Oh yeah.
went into my bed.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I mean, like I said, it's nice having your own space, having your own time like that.
So when do they all come home? Tomorrow or something?
No. So like, Mom and V and the baby, they come home Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
And
Are they
then-
flying or driving?
They're flying.
They're flying.
And then the kids will be back the beginning of next month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's nice though. I like all the fun, like finding all those things that you used to like doing. Like today I was playing a game, a Conan the Barbarian game.
Oh, okay.
It was fun.
Was that on like PlayStation or
just
Xbox?
while
or what?
about an hour and a half away into something like that. Yeah, it's on Xbox.
Xbox.
Yeah,
Okay.
good times. Everyone loves Conan the Barbarian, right? So,
Dude, I haven't played video games in forever. If I play video games, it's just Grand Theft Auto. I just get on Grand Theft Auto, fuck some shit up, get killed by the cops, and then I'm done. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I like doing that.
I like stuff that makes you think, and I think it
Yeah.
can serve a good purpose in that regard. I don't know that I necessarily think all video games do. Some of them are pretty, mindless. But
Yeah.
even those are fun, as long as it especially if it allows you to have fun with someone else. Like you
Yeah.
can sit down with your buddy. Like you ever play that game Battletoads when we were kids?
Adult code.
Battletoads.
Mm-mm.
So there were these toads, and it's a great game. They got a new one coming out. We'll have to play it. You'll love it. But it's it was almost like a knockoff of Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
But it was good stuff.
It's Battletoads.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's what I miss about video games is how you used to sit down with your buddy on the same little box. you
Yeah.
know, and play them sitting next to each other. That's something you don't really get these days.
No.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, no. I remember I had this Sega Genesis. That was.
Yeah.
I loved the Sega Genesis with Sonic the Hedgehog and shit like that. Yeah, man. Those are the good old days.
I remember way back, we still had my dad's, and it was old at that time, his old Pong machine.
Nice.
Yeah. And we had that thing
With
for
just
a long
the
time.
joysticks.
No, it was like a box
Okay.
with a dial on either side of the screen that controlled the things.
Huh.
And you each had your own dial, and it had its own little screen on it.
Okay.
You plug it in, and you'd sit there and play Pong. It was super basic, man. But we thought it was the coolest dang thing because we were kids, And
Yeah.
that's like when you had Light Bright.
Oh,
your Light Bright was a super high tech kind of toy.
Dude, Light Bright. I remember Light Bright that way. Do you just think like that? Think about me and you are part of the last generation that will remember a lot of big technological advancements. In such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
In our short lifespan.
Stair steps.
Because yes, clearly our parents have been through more and our grandparents have been through more, but I'm just saying in a 30-year period, we went from having
Basic
no cell
electronics.
phones, very fucking basic, no internet, no real computers in every household kind of thing, to having a supercomputer in your fucking pocket and internet everywhere. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy to think the jump, because I mean, when we were kids, you'd get home from school and you'd go play outside.
It kind of makes you wonder, how much technological advances become exponential.
Yeah.
Where the more that you make, the more you start as long as you don't have a break in knowledge. As long as you don't have a point at which stuff gets forgotten and lost.
Yeah.
And then you have to wonder how many times has that had to happen before we got to where stuff stopped being lost and we started accumulating more than we were losing.
Mm-hmm.
At what point has that happened in mankind's existence? And I think this is a good example of one where it's happening You know, whether it's happening for the first time or not, or to what degree it's gotten, or what, you know, what technology in particular was advanced and which ones weren't, you know. But
For
electronics is one that I think is remarkably vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, like certain cosmic events that can happen in your own solar system can like knock the whole thing out.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then it's like, so where are you at then? You got to rebuild the whole thing, and you got to hope that you have the know-how to do it and be able to organize those resources. And that's a big part of it. We use that system to organize those resources.
Yeah.
So what happens when you can't organize all that?
Well, that's like, I mean, that's like me and my boss were talking the other day about how, like, at some point, probably within the next 100 years, there's going to be some sort of apocalyptic event. Whether it's a virus or whether it's some, I mean, it's bound to happen. Whether it's, if we keep going the way we're going, the polar ice caps
keep melting. You say 150
melting,
years?
100 years.
Probably I feel like that might be a little restrictive. I mean, I'm not saying it can't.
You think it's longer than that?
I think you could have a even like 1,000-year window.
Yeah. I think that's too much.
I mean, I'm not saying it is too much to say a full 1,000 years. I'm saying a window somewhere in there, I think is where it is. And you know, like, depending on what you're talking about, it could land anywhere in that window. I don't know.
Well, it could be like
I'm just saying, I think 100 years is saying, you know, it's almost like when people say like, oh, the apocalypse is going to be in 2012. And then everyone like waits for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you can't really judge it that accurately. But I think we're kind of like, for a number of different like contributing reasons, like there's probably something in the next 1,000 years that'll happen and we could easily survive it too. Like there's been plenty of catastrophes we have survived.
I think you're looking too long at the scale. I think the reason I said 100 years was because look at where we were 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Look at how primitive and basic we were just 100 years ago.
Sure. What's that got to do with it? How are you linking that to your 100-year theory?
Because the 100-year theory is that it will be a man-made or a man-caused apocalyptic event because we will end up doing something that will end up fucking the planet up.
But your hypothesis is that we won't catch what we're doing and then take appropriate action to...
What in the world makes you think that we would catch what we were doing before it happened? Like things go wrong like that all the time.
I understand that, but like if our technology continues to get better, our ability to forecast those kind of events will get better.
Hopefully,
if you're an environmentally conscious society, and that's something that you see a large element of our world's population trying to adopt,
to move towards. You're right.
But then you see a lot of resistance to it. I'm not saying that there's not corruption in that same. I mean, like anything, that's a whole subject and industry that has a lot of politics involved.
True.
And it's not like there isn't a lot of, you know, people that are just trying to make a buck there. The same thing with the oil industry.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of people just trying to make a buck there. We don't listen to them. We shouldn't take their advice on climate change any more seriously than we do the people who are just trying to make a buck in the green industry. But there's a lot of other people out there that we should listen to.
Like Al Gore.
Wow. Again, like I said, there's a lot of people trying to make a buck out there. You know.
I don't know. I don't really have too much of a weigh in on the whole Al Gore thing. I was a little too young when he was like a big hit.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more I could learn about the situation, and I've learned a lot of different stuff over the years.
Yeah,
you know, I know he's made a lot of money off of it, and
oh yeah, he's made a lot of money off of it. But I mean, he's also brought a lot of awareness to it as well. So it's kind of like, I don't know. One of those things.
I mean, it's like any time I think anyone with some celebrity uses their celebrity to be an activist.
So, okay, so here kind of talking about this same thing. Did you listen to the Joe Rogan with Candace Owens?
Remind me of what they talked about.
Candace Owens is a African-American female conservative.
Oh, I think I did listen to that one.
And,
Climate change?
Huh?
Climate change?
Yes! Yeah, did you watch that one where she's like, I don't really believe in climate change? And he's like...
He decimated her, but she was basically calling BS on a series of scientists.
Yeah. Yeah, she was like, who knows the credibility of the... And which, in all fairness, we're right. Who does know the credibility of these scientists? But at the same time, it's like, why would scientists be telling us this?
Well, the argument is always kind of the whole thing where it's like, okay, the scientists who deny climate, or at least human induced climate change, are typically people who work for the oil industry and the power industry and stuff in some regard.
Yes.
And then you've got the ones who are claiming that, climate change is a real thing, are always accused of working for all of the green industries and all that stuff. And so here's the big argument, is you have to start saying, okay, well, if all scientists, they got to get their money from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what scientists don't generate money unless it's given to them by someone who wants the research done.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they got to get it from somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
So now you need to say, okay, well, what's the largest body of scientists and what are they saying? What is their consensus?
Yeah.
Well, the largest body is, without question, the climate change is human, at least human affected.
Yeah.
That everyone agrees there's a cycle to it all.
Yeah.
Right? It's just that this big, large body of scientists is saying, hey, this nice little kind of like wave action we got can get out of sync, and things can get really, really janky from there and get really screwed up.
Yeah.
That's all anyone's saying. But you got a lot of people, I think, in the conservative party, and especially in more like the evangelicals and whatnot, who think that all that's made up and it's mumbo jumbo. And if
I love when people think science is mumbo jumbo.
well, and that's just it. Like you can have whatever opinion of faith you want.
Yeah.
But I think even as someone who used to be a person of faith himself, my big thing is this: is you're still acknowledging that it's a system that has a sink and a pattern to it.
Yeah.
You cannot argue that the system will always be able to account for what mankind can put on it, because we've never had these population numbers before.
True.
So when you deforest so much and you pollute so much and you kill off enough of this reef and that reef, you change the ecosystem. And maybe it's not one thing that screws it all up, but it's all of it put together.
Yeah.
That's something you can't deny. That's something we do. Human beings irrevocably affect the ecosystems all around them. And we're doing it on a scale we haven't done before. So
yeah,
it's bound to have negative effects.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you take the responsible step and try and live better?
Yeah.
And if that comes with mistakes, it comes with mistakes. Then you address those as you find them. But you don't say, "Oh no, I don't want to get involved with the green industry because there's some corruption there." The system you have has corruption.
Gonna have corruption.
Like tough luck. Get over it. Like do the right thing.
I mean, the question I would ask there would be like, okay, so you don't want to be part of the green industry because of corruption or because of that. Are you a Christian? Well, yeah, I'm. Okay. Well, how much corruption is in the church that you're a part of?
Well,
that you're a believer in,
but I mean, that's the thing in America is all those churches are so self-governed. They're going to argue, not my church. They don't have a central. It's not like with Catholicism or some of the larger denominations like Methodists. They don't have a central body kind of governing them. They have their own congregation and they kind of self-govern.
Yeah.
So, the argument of the church is good for people maybe of the larger, more organized, old world religion.
Yeah.
But I think in America, that largely wouldn't be something you could...
Yeah.
You could pass off. What does Dakota think? Are you a climate change denier?
Are you a flat earther? Because if you are, I'm leaving.
Have you seen the one? Have you seen the one where they now have a flat earth theory that involves the flat earth sitting on top of a globe of ice?
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yes. So before they've tried to say that there's these giant ice walls around the earth, like around the flat earth like disc, right? That's what keeps us in. Okay. Kind of like a gigantic Truman Show kind of idea, right? So now the idea is, since we can see other planets, right? And they're clearly globes and they're clearly orbiting through space. So now the idea is, well, everyone's like, well, why would we be the only flat disc? Like that's one of the big, like easy, just kind of like, don't be stupid kind of things,
Yeah.
And so now the idea has been put forward, probably not by probably by a handful of people, right? But still, someone put it out there, the idea that there's like this flat disc that's sitting on top of a globe of ice. And that globe of ice has like a little divot in it that we sit in. And that we're just like some ginormous globe of ice. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't. It's hard to take the people who are flat earthers serious.
I mean,
it's like
a lot of them probably don't take themselves seriously.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
there's probably a few.
Is it more of like, let's say, just for math's sake, let's say there's 100 people that believe in the Flat Earth Society thing, or are part of Flat Earthers, or 1,000 or 10,000, whatever number you want to use. What percentage of those people are doing
believers?
that, are true, like fucking hardcore believers, and what percentage are just doing it because it's fun or something to do, or they're lonely, or they just want to be a part of something,
I think you see that in any social subgroup, you know.
True, but flat earthers are probably one of the most ridiculous ones. So I'm just like,
I don't know, dude. There's Hello Kitty people. There's people that like to get tied up and whipped on. There's flat earthers. There's people that, you know, there's the Bigfoot community. They get ripped on quite a bit. I mean, you know, flat earthers is just one of many things where it's like, okay, hey, I want to believe too, man.
I mean, I want to believe in all the cool, crazy conspiracy theories, but reality of it is I mean, I'm not a denier. I'm just, you know.
I like to be good and skeptical.
Yeah.
As much fun as I think it all is, and like I like to nerd out on it.
Yeah.
Like, especially Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But I also just want to go walk around out in those mountains and stuff.
Oh, I know, right?
And it's what a fun way to do it if you think you're hunting down a giant.
For real, right?
Monkey man.
Giant monkey thing. Like an Astropithecus.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's just, it is what it is.
There is a Flat Earth Society in Bloomington.
Is there really?
Yeah, and they meet like once a month or something like that. I saw it on.
It would be too much if we like went in there with false intentions, wouldn't it? That would be like frowned upon.
I mean, it would be a dick move.
Yeah.
But it would also probably be really cool and fun.
We should send Dakota in there undercover. Yeah, just
Dude, Dakota, yeah, just like nerd it up. Like, we'll get your hair looking all crazy, and like we'll get you kind of like dingy looking, and yeah, I don't know what does like a flat earther look like. I'd have to do some research. Yeah, just be like, man, I have all these questions, and I feel that I'm on a disc. I don't feel that I'm on a planet anymore. Can you guys help me? Like, I don't know. I just don't know. Look, I pour water on the ground.
Get like a hidden camera kind of a thing. Like you some kind of like.
Yeah. You're a tech guy. You got a little button cam or something? Glasses cam? Something. We could rig something like that up, right?
You'd have too much fun with that.
Man. Oh my God. Eat a little earpiece.
You'd have way too much fun with it. No, man, I think a lot of it is. It's like any kind. I mean, like, look at people that are like. I mean, there's people our age that are still like heavily into like Pokemon, right?
What?
Trade the cards.
That's a thing?
Oh yeah. Like any of that like nerdy game stuff that was like a thing when we were kids, like most of it has some group of people
still doing it,
still out there in society that are big fans of it, right? Like people collect comic books.
Yeah.
People collect Pokemon cards.
Hey
people
man, Chris Bates collects comic books.
Right.
He's
No,
cool
people
as fuck.
collect old like action figures and stuff, right? It's just that kind of a thing. It's more of that collector's thing. But the people where it's a game, they also still tend to play the game.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's kind of what you're running into.
Yeah. Dude, I found a couple. You remember the Goosebumps books, the original Goosebumps books from like back in the day?
Yeah.
I had them all, and I found them like when I was moving something out of my mom's house, and I gave them all to Memphis. I have like
Has he read any
50
of them?
or 60 of them. I read them all when I was a kid.
No, you read them. Has Memphis read them since you gave them to him?
Yes, I think he's read like one or two of them.
Does he like them?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah, because then the movie came out right about the time that I found them, so then he was real excited about reading them.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, the Goosebumps movie." He's like, "I want to read the Goosebumps books that, like, with the characters that are in the movie and shit."
Who was supposed to be R.L. Stine in that movie?
Jack Black.
Yeah.
Jack Black was R.L. Stine.
Did you see the movie?
Yeah.
Was it any good?
It was very good.
I think we watched it at one point, but I think I was like working crazy hours and I fell asleep.
Yeah, no, it was extremely good. Now they're making a sequel and it doesn't look as good. It looks kind of
really.
Yeah,
Is Jack Black gonna be in that one?
No,
Oh,
and
so
then
can't do that.
Yeah, it just looks cheesy and like I'm like, I saw a preview for it the other day. Memphis played me a preview for it, and he was kind of excited about it. But I was like,
I mean, it's one of those things where you take the kids. Kids like sequels.
Oh yeah, I mean,
man.
I'll definitely. Memphis will want to go see it, and we'll rent it, or we'll go to the theater or something.
I think sequels really were as terrible when we were kids. It's just we were kids, and so we liked them.
Yeah.
And now that we're adults, we're like,
I don't know, bro.
Man,
Indiana Jones 1, 2, and 3 kick ass. Back
I'm
to the
not
Future
saying
1, 2, and 3 kick ass.
There aren't good sequels, but I would say that's the exception.
More times than not, sequels below.
I mean, to be fair, I even like all the Jurassic Park like sequels, just because I love Jurassic Park.
Those are all
they
great
get a little
movies.
cheesy near the end. I get it.
Dude, have you seen the newest one?
I've not.
Oh, it's good.
I know. I was really kind of bummed I didn't see it in theaters.
There's some tear-jerking parts. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's some parts where you're like, damn, that's fucked up. That's sad. God.
Chris Pratt confesses his love for the raptor.
I mean, yeah, there is a part where he's like having a moment with the raptor, and you're like, but no, there's just some parts of it where you're just like, damn, dude, that's kind of fucked up. I didn't.
Here the big T-Rex just saves the day way too many times.
Yes, the T-Rex.
Like he's some kind of mascot of the whole
Like
franchise.
He's like the payroll.
Like comes
Hero
in, gives
T-Rex.
his little thumb up. You know, like,
Yeah,
I got this,
hero
guys.
T-Rex. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
That's good. We call him in like artillery or something.
But no, man.
Was Jeff Goldblum in this one?
Yes.
See,
he wasn't
the
like a
return
big
of the
part of it.
No, he doesn't have to be.
But he had a cameo
He's gotta come
in
back,
the beginning
though.
and in the end,
Yeah.
and so that was cool.
I don't know.
That was cool. I was happy. They opened the movie with Jeff Goldblum talking.
I
So
love
that's
what an
real
icon
cool.
he's become.
Dude. Oh yeah.
Because when he was in that movie when we were kids, I mean, he was a well-known actor, sure. Like,
I mean, he had been like in like The Fly, and he had been like in a
several
few.
movies,
Yeah. So he was well known. Yeah.
But I mean, like, who would have thought he would become as beloved? Like, universally, like, I think by people loved acting.
I just think everybody loves Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Like, I've never met anybody who's been
Except
like,
for Dakota. Dakota hates him.
fuck you, Dakota.
I'm just trying to make you the off-screen villain.
The off-screen villain. Fucking hating on Dakota right now.
No.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
God.
man.
That's
Like, I
hilarious.
loved him in Thor. That was great.
Yes, Thor Ragnarok. He was
fantastic
great
in
in that. Oh my gosh, he was very good. He was very good in that. And then
Haven't there even been like commercials he's done? It's like an insurance company or
yeah,
something.
he did some
commercials for.
like not Affleck, but it was something like a Geico or some shit.
Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie.
Was he really?
He
I don't
did
think
Tim and
I've
Eric's
seen
$1 billion
that one.
movie.
He was in it.
I haven't seen that.
No.
I don't
Is
think
that,
I've seen.
was it good? Is it something we should watch?
I give it a solid 6 out of 10.
Okay.
6 out of 10.
I mean, it's above 5. I'll watch it.
Like, don't put aside important things to watch it.
Listen, family, leave me alone for the next 2 hours. But we're hungry. I don't give a shit.
I must watch.
I must watch this. Just go outside.
On
But
Dakota's
Dad, it's
word.
raining. That sucks.
Dakota gave it a 6 out of 10, kids.
6 out of 10.
You're shit out of luck.
You're shit out of luck. Dakota's word is gold.
Yeah. That's right. We need to start your own website. And you can rate random things.
Give it all 6s.
Just everything, literally
Everything has
everything.
a 6.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The man
that'd
of
be hilarious.
averages. But yeah. I don't know, Nielsen. So what should we do in upcoming episodes? That's what I want to get down to. I mean, like we're kind of getting into
We're getting
it.
back into it. So yeah, this episode is more of just like us coming along, bullshitting, talking to you guys, filling.
You don't have to
filling
tell
you
them that. We told them that already.
And
but what should
yeah.
we do in upcoming episodes?
I still want to do more another religious episode at some point.
What do you want to do that on? Do you know what Zoroastrianism is?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what Zoroastrianism is?
No.
Maybe we should do it on that, and you should look it up and learn about it, and then we'll discuss.
Is it crazy?
I mean, it's very
Am I gonna have a lot of
interesting
fun
in the
researching
sense-
it?
No. I think you'd be fascinated.
That's what I'm
researching
saying.
it.
Is it going to be like real something almost like the Scientology thing, dude? That was a lot of fun to do that. Like listen to all that
I
shit
think
about
you will
it.
because the thing that I think is interesting about it is there is a lot to suggest because it without a question predates Christianity. We know this.
Everything does. damn near.
But in addition to that, there is a lot of its customs, its traditions, its rituals, its beliefs that are present in Christianity.
Oh, okay.
So the hypothesis by some people,
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to say it's a mainstream, I'm not going to say it's the majority, but stuff that I've listened to and read, some people think that like it's a really good candidate for what Christian, like kind of like some Jewish sect decided to kind of change its dogma and its beliefs to a certain degree, and that it kind of like borrowed from that.
Okay.
So it could be a good precursor to Christianity, which would be very fascinating, considering Christianity claims to be this completely independent, totally unique thing that arose. They don't claim there was any kind of belief system like theirs before. So
yeah, well, pretty much everything about Christianity is bullshit. So,
well, there's a lot of people that would argue with you.
I know. I would consider those people to be kind of cuckoo.
Well, I don't want to go talking about people like that.
I guess, okay, so here's my thing. This is my thing. I want everyone to believe in whatever they want to believe in. I want everyone to feel comfortable in their beliefs or in who they are or anything like that. So when I say things like that, I'm not trying to be rude or I'm not trying to be mean and belittle people. My whole thing is don't you try to convince me that your way is right, or don't you be a Christian hardcore person and judge other people and belittle other people.
Sure, no, that's
and
fair.
That kind of thing. If everyone would just kind of leave everybody else alone, it would be okay. But you have these hardcore Christian people who are trying to get. I mean, look at what political place we're in right now with Mike Pence and Trump. Right now, they're trying to do away with abortion. They're trying to make it a crime in some places. Mm-hmm. I mean, like they're legitimately like trying to fuck up all because of their religious beliefs, all because of that shit. Mike Pence is super heavily into Christianity, and that's a huge influence in our White House right now, and that's insane. We have government and religion are officially like mixed very hardcore right now in this presidency, and it's church and state, man. It's fucked up.
But do you think there's anything to the argument that whenever a person that has that kind of faith and is open about having that kind of faith gets elected by the people, that's not the people saying they want it represented in their government, and therefore it doesn't matter about a separation between church and state, because Mike Pence is not a church official. He's just a contrition.
State official?
Well, he's a state official, but when it comes to his religion, he's just a believer.
Yeah.
He's just a member of a congregation somewhere, and this is what he professes to believe in. And when he goes to work on Monday, he's expected to not let that heavily influence, and inevitably will influence his job. But since the people elected him knowing who he is...
We did not elect Mike Pence.
Well, if you voted for him and Trump, you did. So, yes, anyone that voted for Trump voted for Mike Pence, and ta-da.
Did you vote for Hillary, Josh?
No.
What happened to Bernie, man? What happened to
Well, we know quite well what happened.
Well, we know what happened to Bernie.
We know that
that's
he got
a sad thing.
That's where a lot of the corruption
was.
Yeah, there's a lot of corruption in that.
He's talking about running in 2020.
And if he did, dude. The thing you have to consider is that he's an older dude.
He's old. He's gonna be old as shit.
A lot of his
by
ideas. I think there's a lot of his other stuff that I don't necessarily agree with, but that's been every freaking candidate out there.
Yeah.
And you just kind of hope that people are going to go in there and do the absolute best they can do, but then you keep coming back to, how much can you put up with certain kinds of corruption?
Yeah.
And unless you address them, they're not going to change. They're not going to work themselves out. So as much as I want to believe that you could get someone in office who would be a good president on, all the important levels, that doesn't mean they're going to get anything done, because it's a really corrupt system.
Oh, absolutely.
So does it matter if Bernie gets elected? I haven't seen big business.
This goes back to
have
exactly
things not go their way.
What
we want term limits.
I think term limits
are a huge thing.
I think we need to get a lot of money out of our I think lobbyists should be shut down in every pocket that they exist.
Yeah.
So just legalize what? How do you stop lobbying?
I think it's
you stop lobbying.
There's thunder.
I wonder how that's going to sound. I bet that's going to sound cool as fuck on the podcast. It's currently starting to thunderstorm, everyone. So if you hear weird noise in the background, that is why.
I think the way you get rid of lobbyists is you stop allowing people like that to go there and spend the kind of time they do in the Capitol, and doing exactly what they do, lobbying for their causes. You shouldn't have people lobbying for causes like that. Like it shouldn't be something where you can take a public official out to lunches and invite him out to weekends doing this and that and
bribes and money and
the stuff that inevitably is to some degree, maybe not in every instance, but yes, I'm sure there's plenty of that going on.
Yeah.
But there's ways you combat against lobbying. There's plenty of examples in other countries of how they do it, and I'm not saying it's always perfect. And I'm not saying what we would try next would be perfect, but we got to try something instead of just saying, oh, well, shit.
I think a big part of getting rid of that corruption that's at those highest levels, like the Senate and different places like that, would be, like you said, term limits. Like, okay, you're only going to be able to do this for 8 years or 4 years or 6 years, whatever the limit is, and then you're out. You're done. You don't get a lifetime fucking salary. You don't get a lifetime, and you come in, you do your time, then you go back and do something else. You get another job doing something else, and because what?
Congress people.
Yeah, Congress, Senate, any of those super high up spots. Like
no,
you should not retire out of fucking.
And term
doing
limit should be
like
realistic. I don't think you should have anything outside of 5 years.
I mean, whatever we decide to do, in that direction. But it's like, hey, you get elected, 5 years, you're in, you're out, boom, you're gone. And that would prevent a lot of these quote unquote relationships between congressmen and senators and people like that. I think you would still see it.
There's still ways for that to occur.
There is, but
it would be a step in the right direction. And I think we need to take every step that we need to as we kind of figure out where action's necessary.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're kind of really behind the times on, is we have a system that has operated the same way by and large for a very long time, and it has sufficed. It has done a great job. If we want to be honest, it has done a great job of keeping a nation together and keeping it relatively successful, and making us the world power that we have been. But there's a point at which, it's time for social change. Like, you can't argue that we need to be so fundamental that we stick with everything that has only been done in the past. That's not how societies work. Mm-hmm. Societies have to move forward, and that means having some progressive stances.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Politics in our nation is a funny thing, man. And it's interesting the more you kind of try and listen to different stuff and different voices from different parts of the planet, how kind of pegged I think a lot of other countries have us.
Yeah.
And some countries that are older than our own that have been through similar periods where the people were very divided. And they're like, dude, if you don't get past it, you burn the friggin' house down.
Do you think that there's ever in your personal opinion, do you think that a civil war would be possible in our country?
I would never say that it's not possible. I mean,
okay. Do you think that
I think it's likely?
Well,
within the next 10 years?
What I think?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think people won't know it's a civil war until the headlines say it, and the headlines can say it whenever they want. They can just say that the civil war has started, and people will believe that the civil war has started, even if no one has been killed yet. And
I don't know.
Corrupt media, basically.
Well, not corruption. It's just who's the first one to cry civil war?
But I think we live in the age of people taking videos with personal devices and kind of spreading information that way. That would be pretty quickly debunked.
Shots fired war.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what qualifies as a civil war.
I mean,
when
I think
a war is actually
started
taking place.
I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying, because media is a huge part of that type of thing. But I think that as a society, we've come so far with, Facebook Live, Instagram Live. If something was popping off like that, everyone would know immediately. Sure. If something popped off to the next level like that, if the military came into one part of the, started doing this or doing that, it's information is so easily accessible now that you could literally go and just do a live video off Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is, and that would go onto the internet. And then if it's some kind of crazy thing, millions of people are going to see that, and it'll go to YouTube and blah blah. So
right, that's what I'm saying. I think that would be pretty quickly like debunked.
Yes,
if they falsely tried to claim.
Yes, but if something real was happening,
get something real to happen, do I think it's likely?
Yeah.
I think we're still.
Do you think we're on the verge of it, like a lot of other people sent Tim? Because I see a lot of articles and things like that. Are we on the verge of a civil war?
Whole, like, do you remember they had like the whole like doomsday clock thing? Like, kind of for the, I think it was mostly tied to like the Cold War.
Yeah.
Kind of era, but it was like, you know, the clock is this much closer to midnight, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I think when you talk about something like, you know, our chances of getting into a civil war, it's kind of a day by day thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like, if there was a lot of stuff occurring that, you know, wasn't being handled properly and was like kind of encouraging more social injustice and some, you know, whatever hot topic issue you want to talk about, you know.
Yeah.
If there was stuff occurring that like would call for outrage, I think we'd be a hell of a lot closer to it, you know. But, you know, how many times have we had that lately? What has it been specifically, and what has the public reaction been?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we've gotten to a place where public reactions are oftentimes, it's just like any fad. You know, it's fun to be angry about it and shout about it. And I think it's something that we need to be angry about and shout about, because whenever you have silence, that's where things usually just kind of get ran away with. If something happens and you shout it down and it doesn't keep happening again, it doesn't become a trend, good. It did its job.
Yeah.
You know, social outcry did its job. But sometimes we let those issues drop when nothing's been done about it.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, how do you change that? How do you get people to take it further?
How do you get
in
people
American
to actually do
society,
something about it?
It's, you know, you do the minimum of what you need to do to get by, kind of.
Yeah.
And so again, it's like, I shout about it the minimum I need to be socially
just about it.
Yeah, you know.
Feel like I did my part.
And then I let it go. And I think that gets done a lot. And I think it's really irresponsible.
Yeah.
As a society.
Yeah.
And I'm no better at it. You know, I've done it. I do it all the time. I do it along with everyone else.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to do it as much. And I try to kind of like focus on ones where I'm like, this is something we really do need to honestly push. Like, we need to, you know, but I'm also a nobody. So, you know, how far does that go? It goes through my, like, you know, circle of 20 people that see me on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is what it is. You do the best you can, man. And I think that's what most Americans want to do. They make us kind of pair ourselves off in groups.
Yeah.
Just to get you divided up so you're easy to play against each other.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean,
every way they can.
Right.
The divide and conquer
But
thing.
I think the vast majority of us want to do that. We want to do the best we can.
Yeah.
On all the different levels, on our local level, like with my neighbors, I want to be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
I also want to be a good community member. I want to be a good employee at my job.
Yeah.
You know, like I like that they, you know, kind of see me work hard and you know, make me included and feel like I'm welcome for that reason, you know.
Yeah.
Now the lights are getting ready to go out. It's about to get all horror movie in here. Like,
are we gonna lose power?
Like, we're out here in the middle of nowhere. The hillbillies are gonna come get us.
Dun, 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 dun. I hear banjo music. Paddle faster.
You know, but then like, and it just goes on up the scale from there. You know,
Yeah.
like you keep going on up into like, you know, how do you want to be a good American?
Yeah.
Well, I think most of us are on the same page. I think most of us apply to a very large central category, even if we kind of vary on that scale of what your political, you know, alignment is.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's even wrong to have those political designations, so long as we understand that people can be pretty fluid within those groups as to where they sit on different topics.
Yeah.
You know, and that's okay. That's fine. That's what consensus is about, is getting the general idea of what everyone wants to see happen.
Well, I mean, that's it.
But we got to stop letting the polarization happen. We got to stop listening to those people, for one.
Yeah.
Stop sending more people into their ranks by insulting each other all the damn time.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And take a step back and say, okay, look, I get it. We're going to have a lot of things we don't agree on. That's why you live over there and I live over here. but let's at least come together on important stuff that affects everyone and do it as justly and as civically as possible, because we have that separation of church and state. It's not supposed to be biblical law. That is for you, yourself, on your own time. That's what separation of church and state is all about.
Yes.
But I would see with the abortion issue specifically, I don't consider it to the argument against abortion to be strictly biblical.
Okay.
I think it could
and I don't think you're wrong there.
A raw moral argument against. Because the argument is whether or not that it's murder.
Right.
That's the whole argument.
Right.
And that doesn't have to rely on a Bible.
Right. No, I think you're absolutely correct. I think whenever you take the people that are pro-life and the argument for that, I think that is the absolute best one there is if, the egg and the sperm have come into contact and that egg is fertilized, left to its own devices, that's a human being.
Right.
So what point do you get to say it's not a human being yet? Why should you? If left to its own devices from any of those stages, it's a human being.
Yeah.
But then you also have the situation where it's like, well, what about rape? If a woman is raped, should she be forced to have that child, or can she have an abortion and be done with it and move on with her life? There's a lot to suggest that is the better scenario from a psychological standpoint for the mother and the child that usually results out of it. And then you have medical reasons.
Yeah.
Someone can die from having to follow through with a pregnancy, and in a lot of cases they both die.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's a hell of a topic.
It is.
It's not one I like.
It's not cut and dry.
I personally am very uncomfortable with the notion of abortion after kind of going back and forth for a lot of years. Because I kind of lean towards what you're saying is left to its own devices, it's a human being. So I don't understand why it visibly looks different than a human being means it's not one, because that's true of everything at that stage. That's true of a puppy, that's true of a kitten, that's true of a bird.
Yeah.
Just because things don't look like their adult self doesn't mean that we don't classify them in that species. They're just at that developmental stage of it.
Yeah.
So, but I also know that
thing.
you're not going to tell other people how to feel about it either. You're not going to tell them they're wrong and then they're just going to start going with your way of it. And you can't be so divisive that you refuse to work with those people, because that's the thing. We're trying to find the right road here.
Well, so and that's another argument too, because there are some people that are pro late term abortion.
Well, and that's a totally different thing, and that
up.
is really messed up. I think everyone agrees, at least except for that very fringe element again, that polarizing group.
Yeah.
Right?
I've heard the argument pushed forward that you get civil rights upon birth.
Yeah, and that's really fucked up. I'm sorry. That is so screwed up that that defining thing of whether or not you've passed out of the womb or not, you can literally be considered just nothing up to that point. Are you friggin' kidding me? That's sick.
I like how Josh doesn't cuss on the podcast.
Friggin'.
He washes his potty mouth.
I feel like I've said plenty of cuss words.
Language.
God damn it.
Do we want to take a break?
Yeah, we should take a break. Let's take a break and come back maybe with something a little bit lighter than talking about
Abortion.
killing infants.
Peace.
Right before they're born.
Cats are aliens. I believe it. There's a little alien inside that cat body, controlling it. They're from another planet.
It would make a lot of sense.
Right? Cats are just like, fuck you, man. Okay.
But I mean, why would the alien want to act like this? That's the real.
Lay around all day, not do shit. You feed it. I got 4 fucking cats, dude. 4.
No, that's your fault.
It's my fault because I'm a good person.
Call it what you want. that spin. Put that spin on it.
I wasn't gonna let 6 living creatures be murdered. That's
That's.
But the funny thing is like
But I mean, like, are you gonna
See?
take care of literally everyone you find?
No, but
So you keep it within reason, and you keep like.
there's things that you
A
can
couple
do to like, yeah, just lay on the table, cat. That would be sick for the second half filming. Just like a big black cat laying on the table.
I love
Meow.
cats. This is a boy cat. I love boy cats. Boy cats are a lot of fun.
Opie's so cool, dude. The big fluffy one
Yeah.
at my house, the original one that I was getting. And he's real fluffy.
Yeah.
And he's real lovey like that. He just loves to be loved on.
I like
Yeah,
cats.
nails it for video content.
Are we recording video?
Just having a
Sweet.
cat.
Are we recording there too? Oh no shit, we're back on?
Oh, yeah, we've been back on.
Oh damn.
That's funny.
So we just have a cat on our table right now.
Mhm.
You know, cool. And we were just on break and we saw, I would say I counted when I was sitting here, I counted 6. And then I went outside and counted 4 more. So I saw 10.
And you said they didn't have any kind of marking you could see.
No,
though.
it was all, they were all black. I didn't see any kind of markings on
And what
them.
kind of style of helicopter?
Military style helicopter? What? It didn't
Did it
like
look like something they transport people in? Or something that's used for like the purpose of like covering fire? Like what you would call an attack helicopter.
I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. They look like some shit out of a fucking movie, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, some like apocalyptic shit.
I mean,
fucking
you know what kind I'm
military.
talking about.
So I've never seen that happen before.
Yeah. I mean, I know Crane Naval Base is nearby.
It is.
So there's
They blow up
very...
ammunition like every day.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, that was.
But
just,
I mean, like that could be, they could be doing some kind of like whatever, whether it was like an exercise or an actual operation.
I mean, it very well could be.
They'd be doing a number of
and
things.
that's probably exactly what it is. But
Yeah.
it's fun to think that something's going down.
But it's fun to think that like there was an ET on that helicopter. Or transporting it.
Dun dun dun.
In
Yeah.
reality, the real ET is right here.
Is the cat.
Yep.
So for the second half of our show, we're gonna have a cat on the table, and if you watch this on the YouTube,
You can watch
can
the cat. So if
see-
you're one of those people that just likes cat videos, we've found a way to include cat videos
and our podcast,
into the podcast.
because we're just awesome like that,
Yeah. Who doesn't love a cat?
right? Cats are cool as shit.
My dad doesn't love cats. I'll tell
No
you that
shit.
much. He's not a fan of cats.
No, he wasn't, and that's why I now have 4 goddamn cats.
That's right.
Because he was gonna put them in a burlap sack.
No. I'm not gonna say it never happened. Right? But I think like in his old age, like he's come along with the rest of society, and he's more willing to just send him down the road if someone wants him. That's why it was a good Samaritan thing of you to do,
It was
to take those cats.
good karma, man.
Yeah.
Good karma.
I would have just taken him to like a cat shelter or something.
Well, like we already had 1 cat. We brought 7 cats home from your house.
Sure.
Yes. So we brought the mama cat and then 6 kittens. And we managed to find homes for all of them. We kept 2 kittens.
Isn't that like
and we kept the
So
mama
weird.
cat.
Isn't it like a parasite? Isn't that kind of what the cat has become?
No, man, they're all cool. They just do this shit, hang out.
I know, but like they give you nothing beyond companionship. I'll give you that.
I mean, no, they're little dickheads.
Right.
Always knocking shit over
I
and
know.
like
They're-
fucking scratching on walls and shit.
They're
They're
terror.
total little douchebags, but I mean, yeah, you know, whatever. They're cool. They're cats. Hey, this is my whole thing. And I tell Annie this all the time, and she totally gets pissed off about it. I say, listen. I say, what we have in our household here is if there ever is an apocalyptic event and shit goes down, we have 4 things that we can eat and turn their pelts into some kind of hat or a jacket or something. They're survival animals. You know, because the dog, he'll be good for things to do in the
They're
apocalypse.
the modern man's livestock.
Yeah. If you can't afford a real farm, no. I'm just kidding. We're not really gonna eat cats, but in an apocalyptic event,
you would.
In an apocalyptic event, I would eat a cat.
You would.
I mean, I'm not saying next Tuesday let's do this, but
I've joked about the dog being our emergency pig.
Yeah. Well, Bug for sure. You'd want to keep Rocky around.
I think in an apocalyptic situation, the cats will eat us.
That is, I'm sure a lot of that will go on. Especially, can you imagine, like, you know how kind of big they can get when they go feral?
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And they start breeding.
And eating like real meat and shit.
So now imagine like a pack of those, right?
Like 12, like 16 of them.
Cats that are the size of like a medium to medium-sized dog. And like 5 of them.
Like a savannah cat.
Like 40-pound cats.
Yeah.
Scary as shit.
Dude.
5 of those things coming at you like out in the woods, like they could kill people real quick.
I mean, you're talking 40-pound muscle, just like jack little cats.
Yeah. And there's plenty of stuff around here for him to hunt.
Oh, yeah. Well, not only that, I mean, if all the cats, I mean, they're carnivores, dude. Vulnerable. They're totally predators. So, I mean, they're just tiny little cats. That's why I don't understand how, like, you see these people who get big cats and, like, they just don't.
They don't treat them like big cats?
No. And then they get jacked up and killed and fucked up and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's just
part
crazy
of it
because
people are daredevils, man.
Well, these guys are such little assholes. I can only imagine how much of a big asshole like a panther would be.
Sure.
And like, I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times that these guys have scratched me and shit like that. And like, you know,
when
they
make
sit
it an
on
actual talon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, like, you know, on accident, they're trying to jump off or something. And they try to get traction, scratch the fuck out. Big cat does that shit. No, son, you're done.
Yeah.
One little swat from a big cat and you're fucking dead. No matter, I mean, period. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, not only that, but I mean, you know, you got to keep them so entertained and so
well
overfed
fed and yeah,
and you know, happy and lazy, because the moment they're not, like, they don't care about what you are anymore.
No.
Like, instinct takes hold.
Absolutely.
Because that's what they're designed to do. That's what we're designed to do. Like,
Yeah.
when we get into survival-based situations, I mean, our priorities change.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there was I watched this documentary show, and it was about like different strange things like that, like people having big cats and, you know, people having these little private zoos and stuff like that. And so I was just talking about like a negative thing, like things, when it doesn't go right, you know, one of those kind of things. And so this one story was about this woman, and I want to say she lived in like Pennsylvania, Ohio area, right around generally, and you know, right there, because she wasn't far from Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's right kind of over on this side of Pennsylvania. So like, I want to say like she was like an hour or two away from Pittsburgh, because she was like out in the country. And like Pittsburgh was the closest major city. So she was either like Ohio border or Pittsburgh, you know, so whatever. Anyway, she had 2 tigers. And she got these 2 tigers, built the whole cage, did everything, like everything was legit. It was a good deal.
How do you build a cage for tigers?
Well, she had like a barn.
Like, you're not getting those materials from like Home Depot.
So this was a video. I watched this documentary, and so in the documentary they do like walkthroughs of like these different areas and stuff. And so basically what it was like a pole barn, like what Dakota has here, like just a big ass pole barn, and she had it split up to where like there was like a little room for them, like if they had to get them in a little room, like the feeding room, you know, they would always feed them in this little like 10 by 10 cage. Like that's where they would put the meat, and that's where they would go to eat. So they knew like that's what that meant food. Yeah. You know, going to that little room was food, not anything. She wasn't food. You know, if they saw her somewhere else, so they could have that separation. But then the rest of it was pretty open, and like they had like, you know, things they could climb on and, you know, cat shit kind of thing. She had cool stuff built in there and everything. And then she had a big, like I want to say it was like a 12 or 15 foot tall, like barbed wire fence, fenced in like several acres. And
that's going to be a hell of a fence, though.
It was definitely. I mean, she spent a lot of money.
Just be just like normal barbed wire.
I don't know. Anyway, you're missing the point here. So what I'm trying to get to is And so she spent so much money building her dream
Sure.
that she didn't realize how much money the cats were going to start really costing her. So she was going bankrupt. And she had had these cats for a few years now, and like they just took so much food and so much money for the upkeep, and so much, she wasn't like realizing. I mean, she had money, they were costing a lot of money,
Right.
Her
Her outgoing was far more.
Yeah, so it got to the point where like the cats were like very underweight. She was doing everything she could to feed them, but like it was getting to the point where like she was gonna have to do something about it, like get rid of them, donate them somewhere, do something. And she went out to feed them one day, and she left the door open to the feeding room. Normally, you're supposed to close the door to the feeding room, then you would hang up the meat in the feeding room or whatever you would do, and then you would leave, and then you would open the door, and the cats would get in. Well, she forgot to shut the door to the feeding room before she went in, and the cats ate her.
That's brutal.
And yeah, it was super brutal. And like her daughter did an interview and stuff like that. And like, when they found her, like most of her body was eaten. Like her torso was still intact, but like her feet were gone. It was just bone all the way up, both legs and arms, and like her face, and like so it was just like it was horrible.
I have no doubt. I mean, they're carnivores.
I like how we came back from the break to a lighter subject.
On a lighter subject.
I know. Neil took it straight to like people being eaten.
So deep. I mean, we were talking about cats, and it got
I know, but jeez, man.
I'm sorry. Neil just keeps going dark today.
I know.
I don't know what's up with that. I'm in a dark mood.
You're gonna have to work on that.
Oh man.
You gotta
Josh,
be...
I feel like you're too far away from your microphone. Am I wrong?
Does that sound any better? Oh.
Cat buttholes. No, I'm kidding. Right there. In the video. Good job. All right, well, okay, so
Does it sound better, Dakota? Is that a lot better? Good deal. All right, that was kind of a weird moment there.
So let's talk about a happy subject. What's a happy subject that you would like to talk about, Joshua?
A happy subject?
Yeah, man. What's something bright and you heard the new Katy Perry single, or I mean
No, man.
I mean, you have a daughter. Why would that wouldn't be?
I don't know that she's into Katy Perry.
Yeah.
She's into more like electronic music.
Oh, like dubstep and shit?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, you should definitely hook her up with Annie, because Annie could hook her up with some
there you go.
Quality do music.
Some rhythm and bass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neil doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe in the tribal roots of mankind.
I never said that. I think electronic music is dumb, but I think the tribal music...
You don't think it's just like a modern, like, representation of that same kind of rhythm-based, like, music?
I mean, I don't. That's a hard question to answer.
Well, because when you look at the way we have music these days in concerts,
are we talking about like drums
and
and that kind of thing, like drum circle?
Well, that's how we achieved it initially, because that was, a low technology way to achieve that kind of deep sound.
Yeah.
But like something about those frequencies, like, reacts with human psyche, especially whenever we're like in large numbers, like listening to it.
Yeah.
And that like that modern use of dubstep to achieve those same kind of low sounds.
Yeah.
I think that's what those people are trying to say. Like, what
I think if you ask my wife, that's exactly what she's trying to say.
Right.
Like, I mean, if that is like this type of stuff that she likes to listen to, is like that's the reason why.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is like the real electronic, not that shit, like the techno type stuff, and that kind of shit is just god awful.
Well, yeah, I don't know how much of that is really a thing these days. I think stuff with a lot of bass in it is probably kind of
more of a thing,
the leading thing, and that what you're talking about, stuff that kind of originated in the 80s and has progressed to some degree, I don't think it's as popular. I think that's more of a niche genre.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about this cat?
What got us on the subject of that?
Oh no!
Yeah, talking about Anyway.
Dakota, you kind of need to be the one, like, to
we need something to talk
if we're like,
about.
Dakota, what were we talking about?
We're talking about
musical interest. And have you heard the new Katy Perry single yet? I don't even know if there is a new Katy Perry single, to tell you the honest God truth.
Yeah, no, I don't know. What's something up, I think was the question. What's something up and positive?
Yeah, what's something up and positive?
And then that took us on a weird tangent. I don't know, man. I mean,
rabbit holes, bro.
I like whenever you hear stuff these days about, like, new kind of innovative approaches to social problems. You know, like you hear about stuff where, like, they're finding newer and better ways to, like, deal with, like, pollution.
Did you hear about that kid that invented that plastic eater thing that they're putting out in the Pacific?
Boy in slot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's cool, man.
That's awesome.
That's a really kind of, and I love, like, because in the interview I listened to with him, like, it was cool because when questioned as to, like, you know, like, once this becomes a reality and it's good to go and you step away from it, which is something he fully is planned for.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to be a garbage man the rest of my life. You know?
Yeah, you know, but, like, that he's interested in finding some other, you know, thing that needs a solution, a better way of being approached. And that I think that that's really interesting that, like, he's just, without even being asked, he's kind of decided, like, this is something that I can do, and so I need to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think we need more of that in society, even if it's not at that level. Even if even if you're at the level where you're like, well, I want to find the company that's building that thing.
Well, I think it's
and
like
work
that.
For it.
That initiative, like having that drive and having that initiative, I think is extremely important, and I think there's a very big lack of that in today's society. That, like, go-getter type attitude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that people now more than ever feel entitled, or they want to get famous without having to do. I think the whole, like, wanting to get famous and rich without having to do any work is a huge one, because, you know, YouTube and Instagram becoming social media famous, or famous from social media, and like different things like that. Like, because now is a time that you can literally do that. Like, you can literally become famous and known by millions and millions and millions of people for doing something like a podcast, or doing something like social media, you know, or doing, you know, something like that. Like, you're not having to become like an actor or a performer or an artist to become famous and like a celebrity. You know, you can just do that by doing some dumb shit, you know? And so it's like, but now more than ever. And so, you know, it's just like people want that. They have that entitlement. They're like, oh, I want to be famous and I don't really want to have to do anything. I just want to be on social media, you know, it's things like that. But it's like, people don't realize that, like, a lot of that stuff takes work, and people don't want to work for it.
Yeah.
God damn, quit letting Neil talk about stuff. I'm just going to get, like, judgy and dark about everything.
It's because it's been such a long time, Neil. You've got a lot built up. You've got a lot of held back.
I do.
Yeah. So how did that tie into what we were talking about, Dakota?
What were we talking about?
We were talking about climate change.
Oh, shit. We were talking about climate change?
I don't know. Neil's gone off on some I thought we were taking it to something lighter.
Yeah, we were, because climate change turned into abortion. And then that was dark. And then abortion turned into some other dark shit when we started back up.
Only half of this is going to be usable.
No, man, we're going to use the whole goddamn thing. It's all going to go on iTunes. We don't know cut and paste bullshit.
I'm not saying you cut and paste, like, actual segments.
No. I know what you mean.
But yeah.
I don't know.
Take it back to the cats, man.
Well, I think what we were initially talking about was future episodes. What we want to do in future episodes. And we kind of have gone off on like 37 different things. You know,
we've never really adopted a format, for one.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, like, we need to have, like, a very rigid format.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be good to have, like, a reason why people listen to us.
Yeah.
What they come to listen for, instead of every time they listen, it's something random and different. You know? Like, I don't think it's bad having a natural conversation. I think that's a good element. Right? But we got to have a constructive kind of conversation.
Yeah, so I think we could have like more of a subject-based one the next time.
Well, I think if we're going to do that, it needs to be something we adopt.
Yeah.
Have subjects every time. But maybe periodically have an episode where we just talk about, like, stuff we want to address in upcoming episodes. And keep that constructive.
Yeah, man, for sure.
And then we can have, like, the special Q&A hour with Dakota.
Yeah, I could draft up some wacky topics.
Yes, Dakota, you need to get next time. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll totally do that. We'll have a segment where you need to get a mic. Do you have another mic that you can use?
We can invest in a mic.
I have 2 like singing vocal mics at home, and I mean I use that. I hook them into a PA with an XLR cable and sing in them. So I mean I'm sure they're condensing mics, but I'm sure they're not like as highfalutin as these are. They're more like performance microphones.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
Highfalutin.
So I'm just saying I've got 2 of those. So if we wanted 2 more mics, and I've got 2 more XLR cables and 2 more mic stands. So I'm just saying if at some point we want that.
Yeah, do you have a guest sometime?
Yeah. So we could definitely, I got one, definitely we can mic Dakota. So we need to think of a clever name for like the Dakota question, the Q&A with Dakota. We got to think of
let it happen,
a clever little bit.
You got to let it happen. It'll happen.
So I'm asking the questions?
Yes.
Sure, why not?
Okay.
You have to think of like crazy questions or topics.
Other people, I think, should be able to, like...
Yeah, no, if you want to get on Facebook or Instagram or email, and you can email our Gmail, or you can hit us up on Facebook or Instagram, or you can hit any of us up privately on Facebook if you would like, and suggest shit. Crazy, wacky shit, things that you heard of, whatever.
Coda's Q&A.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man.
And I think that would be hilarious.
I think that would be something that I think would be a little bit more, I think, enjoyable to do with a podcast, is have something where, like, you have a lot of ability for dialogue between people that listen to the podcast, so that the conversation does kind of, like, represent what people are interested in talking about.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be, like, serious stuff like Neil is obsessed with. It can be genuinely light topics. There's a lot of good stuff in the world, I think, that people don't talk about.
That we don't have to get dark about.
Yeah, no, but I mean, for real though, like what you think about kind of frames, like, your view of the world.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good shit going on out there.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a lot of stuff from different sources that talks about, how like things have gotten better in the world on average.
Well, I mean,
than they were even say 20 years ago.
You got to think. Living today is more convenient and better than living at any point in time ever.
Depending on what part of the world you live in. There's plenty of parts
like
of the
medical
world,
advancements, like health, all that kind of shit. Like,
again, it still depends on what part of the world you're in, because it's not available everywhere. Well, and there's no reason it's not available everywhere. It's just not available everywhere.
So, but then that wouldn't, if it's never been available there, then it's kind of a moot point, is it not?
No, but some of those areas are places where their ability to have a successful local and self-representative government have changed over time, where they were better off at different periods in history. There have been the fall of many empires.
Oh, well, yeah.
Right? And those are places where there was like a better quality of living than, say, other parts of the world. And some of those have fallen off, and sometimes they've fallen off directly because of like our getting involved, or other European descent countries getting involved. The whole, like colonialism is a very big part of world history, and that's had very far-reaching effects on a lot of different parts of the world. And it's just something where, like, if we're gonna have a global economy, which is what we want. Technically, we want to be able to utilize all of the Earth's resources to the best of our ability without overtaxing it all, at least ideally speaking.
Yeah.
Then we need to take consideration for the parts of the world where we acquire all that stuff and make sure that standards of living are what they can and should be.
Yeah.
If we're trying to be civilization.
Well, and I mean, I think I've said this before on the podcast. I think it's going to take some kind of massive planet-wide issue to bring us all
something
together.
To unite people.
Yes.
But I mean, it's right, and you're not wrong, but I think it's even better if we can find a way to make the driving force there being a better civilization.
I mean, I fully agree with you, but I think it's going to take something astronomical for that to I don't think it's just going to be something that happens because people want to change.
It's likely, given that is what history suggests, that only out of strife do you get these kind of, struggles forward.
What's the saying? Good times make for weak men make for hard times make strong men make good times make weak men. So, I mean, it's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah, no doubt. But at some point, you hope that we reach a point where once you're self-aware, of that fact,
that
you start taking responsibility for it.
True.
And you get to where that no longer has to be the cycle. That's I think, what we consider to be sentience.
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing where it's like at some point you start recognizing the pattern. And you say, "Oh, I'm smart enough not to keep making the same bad choice."
Yeah.
Because that's a sequence of making bad choices. You know, like it's great that you get to where you get good men and good men make good times.
Yeah.
But if it means that it keeps breeding weak men, which breed bad times, and like all that,
yeah,
then you eventually need to start saying, "Okay, well, what do we do to fix that?"
Yeah.
Like what creates the bad times? If the bad times are created by some part of the system overtaxing the rest, whether it's one individual in the form of some god king way back when, or if it's in the form of like a wealthy elite that are taking way too much and not giving, not putting enough back through the system so that everyone's doing okay.
Yeah.
Well, whatever the case may be, you reach a point where civilization is going to start to break down.
For sure.
And that can happen to us as easily as it can happen to all those past civilizations.
Oh, absolutely.
So, What do we do about it? When do we get to where we've had enough?
That's the $1 million question. I mean, that's literally the $1 million or $1 billion $1
I feel like we're just kind of rambling our way through again. We're just kind of jumping from topic to topic. That's what happens when we don't record often enough, Neil, is we get all
chatty
over the board.
Well, I mean, we can wrap this one up for the day.
How many hours do we have recorded now? What are we at? An hour and a half?
That's good.
That works for me. Yeah, sure.